with the discussions that we have outlined. We have the programming successes. So just thoughts on what has worked, maybe lessons that you have learned that others might find valuable. We'll discuss some challenges and how we might be able to start programming around them in the future, kind of collectively. Talking about planetariums as hubs and the networking potential in the different regions, and then just future opportunities. So I think with the first one, programming successes, I know James and Sean had expressed some interest in talking about this, but just ideas that have worked well, that have resonated with the community or have helped establish new partnerships. What are the good ideas out there that you've come across that you think others might find worthy?
I'll go first and talk about, in particular, my success with utilizing our planetarium as a space to conduct experiments, because living in central New York, it's cloudy 300 days of the year. So with the introductory astronomy lab that we use, there's very few opportunities where we actually get a clear night the day of the week that I teach the lab. And we do have telescopes that we can use and go up on our roof. And there is a significant amount of light pollution here in central New York, believe it or not. So because it's an introductory astronomy lab, these are for non-science majors. These are typically for students looking to check a box to do a science with the lab. And so they don't have the strongest math or science skills. So you have to make the labs approachable but interesting at the same time. And so I've done a number of just observational labs right in the planetarium where we're collecting position data of the sun, of the planets, of stars, and we're looking at the different coordinate systems that astronomers use and looking for trends and things like that. I've done labs where students look at the moon phases and they look at it from a different point of view. I do one with the seasons, and because most of the time they're used to living in one location at one latitude and one longitude, they don't get to experience the seasons in other places on Earth. And so the planetarium allows us to look at how the seasons are different and similar depending upon where we are on Earth. So I have them look at and compare all the dates of the season changes at Cortland, at the equator, and in the southern hemisphere, and then they realize that, oh, it's backwards down the southern hemisphere, things like that. They also realize in that lab that, oh, you can determine how much the Earth is tilted by measuring the angle of the sun on the solstices versus the equinoxes. And it kind of just helps to give them those visuals and just kind of make sense of these things happen all the time, and really smart people figure them out well before we got here. And the students have responded well to them. The labs are approachable. They're not hard in terms of the math. They can do simple addition and subtraction, I hope. I'm just always, every semester, because when you're a teacher, you don't want to be doing the same stuff year after year. It gets boring for you, I think. And so trying to freshen it up, come up with new ideas every year is kind of like the challenge that I love about teaching. And it's been a great success. And now I'm starting to outreach these labs and activities to the field trips that come to campus and say, hey, why don't you bring your students here? CRE, I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but CRE is plain reasoning and evidence. It's the big pedagogical push that they're trying to do with these next generation science standards, where students are going to be asked, they're given a claim, they have to come up with a reasoning for it, and they have to come up with an explanation. And so the planetarium is a perfect place to do CRE. One of the partnerships that we have here on campus is that the elementary ed programs, which is very big and popular here on campus, they always organize field trips for elementary schools, and they bring their students to the planetarium. They also bring the future elementary ed teachers along with them as well. And it's been going really well, and I'm happy to keep it going. And I'll talk about some of the challenges that I face later on when we get there. And I'll be happy to share those labs with you if any of you are probably interested in implementing them.
Oh, yeah, that's a point that I wanted to make. If at any time people wanted to put, website or LinkedIn or contact email in the chat, feel free to do so. We'd also be happy to connect people afterwards if they wanted. Thank you so much, Sean, for sharing. Anyone have any responses or anything they'd like to talk about from their world?
Do you get other faculty members sort of contributing to the educational stuff?
Yeah, I mean, there's, in terms of who runs the planetarium, it's me and somebody else in terms of being fully trained on it. But yeah, we've also done cross-disciplinary things. Like recently, the English department has a common read program, and they were reading a book about astronomical research in one of the main protagonists is into astrobiology, and he's looking for extrasolar systems and things like that. So we had a kind of a cross-disciplinary event in our planetarium. And we've held meditation sessions in there through the psychology department. Those go pretty well. Our physics and engineering club does planetarium nights as well. But our current software doesn't have the means to do biology, geology, the other sciences. We're just limited to astronomy with our current software. One of the challenges is going to be getting money to update our.
Can I ask Sean or others if anybody has like students or interns that help run the planetarium? Because that's like a pro and a con that we have here at SUNY Oneonta, where I have lots of students that are interested in running shows, but I have to train new students every year, and the quality can be hit or miss depending on who the student is. So I'd be curious to hear about people's experiences with either younger interns, or if you're on a college campus, like having students help you with planetarium shows.
I currently have one student that I've trained and I am trusting of to be able to run it by himself. He also has the background knowledge, and he also is going to get a PhD in astrophysics. So that helps. I've had a few students over the year, but very, I try to mitigate what students want to learn how to use it by saying that you have to take the intro astronomy course first before I teach you how to do it. You have to have some astronomy knowledge before you teach how to use it. So yeah, I get a handful of students in my 10 years here. I've had maybe a handful, but I do also see the complications of getting unreliable students that think this is a cool toy, but they don't have the skills to be able to present shows and are unreliable in terms of not being available when I need them to be.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a tall order to like have the way we do our show. It's just me doing everything during a show, right? And that's taken like 6 years to be able to have the fluidity to do that. And so when I do have some students involved, I try and like really narrow down their responsibilities to like one little part of it, whether it's the talking or the flying or the developing data assets and so forth. So that's been the only way I can really manage it at this point.
I've had students involved all along, and yeah, they need small, discrete tasks. So I find like giving them a little I don't know if we all have digital systems, but you write a script and that you execute. Giving them a script for a particular set of graphics or a little demonstration of something is real good, and the computer classes are a good source to find that kind of kid. If somebody who's also interested in astronomy will eat up the opportunity to get into some coding.
Yeah, we've had some successes with like I have a graduate student intern who's just like a little more mature and able to do a lot of the shows, but we have an undergraduate group, they call themselves the Nebula Society, and they just like train each other how to use the planetarium, and we only let them do shows for other students. We generally don't let them do the shows for the public because then we have to worry about quality and stuff. But they have a blast, and I'd love to utilize the students more, but it's a challenge because I also, I'm faculty here. I got to teach 3-4 classes every semester and manage the planetarium too. So finding the time to do all that, it can be tricky, but there's a lot of student interest for sure.
Interesting. That was a fantastic question. Thank you so much. I wouldn't even, this is why we benefit as Empire Space from having you, the experts here to talk to us, because that kind of question hadn't even occurred to me. And so I know now it came a couple times challenges. So I know that for some or most people had indicated that funding is a challenge. And so for us, helping us understand more current funding sources and just how, like, what boxes have already been checked, how has it changed, and then I know that there were a couple different questions, just kind of helping us better understand the difference between, I guess, the academic planetariums and the non-academic, because I know that there are a couple different questions from you all beforehand, kind of touched on that subject, and all of you had kind of expressed an interest in talking about this. So I don't know who wants to start us off.
I guess I'll start again. Our planetarium's 10 years old. We used Digistar 5. That was the new thing that they had in 2014. Are you all familiar with the International Planetarium Society, IPS? Yeah, it's a thing. It's like $100 if you're going to be a university member or something like that. And they have a conference every 2 years. And last year, my friend and I, works with me, and helps run the planetarium, we went over to Berlin because that's where their conference was, because we are seeing the writing on the wall. Our projectors are no longer being manufactured because they're 10 years old. Finding bulbs for them is going to be nearly impossible at this point. And we're just noticing little things in terms of production quality slowly decaying over time because they are getting old. I mean, they're ancient in terms of technology lifespan. So we went there to kind of just get names of companies and see what's out there in terms of the latest technology and get quotes. And we're looking at probably $250,000 to upgrade our system. And Valerie, being in the SUNY system, they are desperately trying to cut everything they can to save money because they're seeing or at least they're projecting a huge drop in enrollment in the next couple of years. And the amount of cutting they're doing here is astonishing. And that obviously doesn't make me very optimistic in terms of asking the school for $250,000. We do have this capital equipment fund that we are applying for, and we're throwing the planetarium in there because at the very least, we have to get it on the administrators' radar that our planetarium is old and it's a great contributor to the positive image that SUNY Cortland reflects out there. And our technology is getting old, and it might last a couple more years, but after that, it's going to start collecting dust. And are you willing to invest in upgrading it? And so, and that's why one of the important things here was kind of talk with you all. If you know of any funding sources that we can go to, I wouldn't trust the federal government right now to give us money, but maybe there's other places that we should. I know writing a grant for funding could possibly be a way too, but yeah, there's so much up in the air right now.
Well, another thing I would encourage you to do is think outside the box. The manufacturer of your current system is not the only one in the market, and
yeah,
quite honestly, they're the most expensive one in the market. So there's a lot of I'm glad to hear you're involved in IPS. But yeah, there's definitely options out there if you're not able to come up with that full amount that you're thinking of.
The DIY version that we currently use costs about $5,000. The second graders don't care. They are perfectly happy with it.
They really are. I will ask Stacy, our grant writer, who she wrote that grant out to and get back to you immediately on that. So
Thank you, Amy. I appreciate
use that resource. Yes.
Yeah.
And Amy, if you could add me too to that list. And
Oh, I was going to send it to everybody that was invited to the
Yeah.
meeting. Yes, it's important to know.
yeah, we
Yeah,
should
that's
collaborate, Sean, because we're, so geographically close. We don't want to compete here. I'd rather
Yeah,
see us
yeah.
both get upgrades because we're on D6, so we're not too far ahead of you, but our projector is circa 2008 and very much on its last legs. So
Wow.
we're doing the same thing. And all I have found for grants so far are grants that want to fund programming and not equipment. And, I've been in the museum field tangentially for like 10 plus years, and that's always the case. They want to see these amazing programs. They'll pay for the kids to come. They'll pay for the buses. Like that's what they want their money to go towards. But if you say, oh, I need a new projector that's $50,000, they're like, no, we don't want to do that.
But that
So-
supports the programming.
I know, I'm on your side. But that's what I've encountered so many times is people don't want to pay for stuff. They want to pay for programs.
So, Valerie, yours is a single projector?
We have two. We have a dual projector.
We as well. One of our current ones is we sent it off to get repaired, but we're like, oh yeah, we have to send this to a third party company that still fixes these little projectors, and we have a loaner from them. It's like, are you gonna want the loaner back because we can't have a planetarium if you take it from us?
Yeah, exactly.
So no one in this group relies on ticket sales, I guess. Did anyone?
No, we don't charge at all.
Yeah.
Amy,
We
is
just
that a
started.
yes or?
I do.
pride myself
You do.
on that.
I charge for every show.
You're in a museum though. You have
Like, oh my
Yes.
gosh.
Yeah.
But listening to you all makes me wonder if I can wrap that into admission. Like should we be wrapping that into an admission price? I charge $4. And that's to the general public. When we have field trips, and we have a lot of field trips through the year, we have a it's where they have 3 rotations. 2 rotations are lessons, and 1 rotation is planetarium show. So every child that comes for a field trip does that, and then there's home for the holidays. We have those wonderful home for the holiday season of light and let it snow shows, which are so old, and I would love to find something a little more updated. Every now and then I like, these are so old, I'm like, I just want to slap the people. I clearly, don't. I'm like, I'm sorry, this is all we have. But during the Home for the Holidays, which is something that our museum has, obviously during the month of November and December, the shows sell out. So yeah, we sell tickets. And what we have also found is when people register for something that's free versus registering for something that's paid for, they don't always come to the free stuff. They come to the stuff that they are forced to spend a couple dollars on. Oh, and also planetarium shows are free though to members. So that is when we do.
That's why we started charging, is because we would sell out our tickets instantly, and then we'd get 5 people out of the 30 that reserved tickets, and it was driving me insane. And
That's
people were
insane.
getting upset. So even it's $3 a person, but it's enough to at least get more people to remember to show up.
Absolutely.
Valerie, if you don't
Absolutely.
mind me asking, where does that money go to? Does that go into your department? Does that go into a special fund for the planetarium?
Right. So we do have a special planetarium fund, and we are going to use that money to pay for the annual licensing for Digistar.
Yeah.
So
In the service contract,
yeah, exactly.
which gets more and more expensive every year.
Yes, for sure.
I had a question for you all in terms of like, what sort of shows do you guys present? Because me personally, I'm not the kind of guy that wants to go in there and click a button and do a full dome video for a show. I feel like the people are getting cheated. And also, I'm an entertainer. I'm a teacher. I want to be out in front of that crowd.
Mhm.
And I want to make it interactive. I want to make them a part of the show and not make this a glorified movie theater. So I'm doing most of the shows I do, I'm up there doing stuff that I made with the program, and I'm asking the people questions. I'm making them a part of it, and I just find it so much more exciting for them. It's more exciting for me. But I also see the time constraints of doing that, because if I want to do that every time, that means I need to be there for the shows. And obviously, I have to teach full time as well. And when I can't do a show, then one of my colleagues has to go in there and play a full dome video with them. And so I'm interested in hearing from you guys what sort of shows you present.
We do all live interactive.
Mm.
No movies.
But James, yours is an old mechanical Spitz projector, right?
No, I made a digital
Made
projection
a digital
system.
one?
Yeah.
Okay.
We use OpenSpace, which is free.
Mm.
If you're not familiar with that, I'm a
I've heard.
big proponent of OpenSpace for planetariums. It's got amazing data, and it's really a data visualization software that works for planetariums too. So you can make all your own custom assets and import all sorts of mission data, everything like that, really handily.
Yeah, SUNY Cortland has an asteroid named after itself, so I was able to look up the orbital data and kind of put it into our software. So now I display it when we do our solar system tour, and then students are like, "What's Cortland doing up there?"
Oh, cool. Oh gosh. Now, ironically, we do shows. We start our shows with trivia that they have scripted, which I don't know how to do. I wear many hats at Roberson, so Planetarium is one of them. We show a show, and then afterwards we do a sky tour. So that's what we do.
Yeah, we do a mixture. I find with the older kids, I lean more towards the live interactive because they are so flooded with media, they won't respond as well to a show. Younger kids, I tend to use more pre-recorded material. But yeah, there's some really stunning virtual reality stuff that's happening in the planetarium world now that really isn't even astronomy. So I don't know if you guys have seen any of the California Academy of Sciences shows. We got one with a grant called Living Worlds, and it's just stunningly good. And what's interesting, because the class periods are usually a lot longer than the shows are now, then that opens the door for all right, let's do some discussion, some interaction. The old days shows used to be a full class period length, but now they want to make them less than a half an hour for the museum, flipping 2 crowds an hour kind of model.
Ours are a mixture as well. Most of our field trips are live sky shows presented by me or our intern. But on the weekends, we do offer 1 video and 1 live sky. So, and we only use the free shows. We don't pay for any of the licensing for the other bigger shows just because we don't have the funding for it. So any of those, 15 or so shows that have been produced over the last 15 years from NASA or other grants and things, that's our list of things that we can cycle through.
So speaking of free, are you guys aware of the resources at ESO, European Southern Observatory?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay, and Noir Lab?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, and open space, yeah, it's great. They actually have not been able to get it working on my multi-projector system, and that's a big goal for me for this summer is to try to get it running. But yeah, it can do things that none of the planetarium systems can do, especially with the live. You talk about downloading and installing orbital data, it just does it for you. Amazing.
I also once a month I rent shows from Full Dome on demand, and then we clearly advertise that, so that works quite well as well.
I wanted to ask, because we are aware of kind of the 2 major planetarium associations that kind of cover New York. One is MAPS, and then the other is the Great Lakes. Are all of you members of one or both of them? Either of them? None of them?
None of them.
None of them.
God.
I've
I'm only
never heard of them, honestly.
You've heard of them, but you're not members.
I've been meaning to
never heard
join
of
that.
I've never heard of them.
Okay.
Maps. A lot of my friends in the area go to the Maps one.
Okay, but James, your planetarium is not a member?
Not at the moment, but I'm sure we will at some point.
I mean, you said Valerie, you're a no?
we aren't either, no.
I'm a committee chair for MAPS, and I'm the president of GLIPA. If you get the IPS journal, Sean, I also write a column under the class dome. And when my little time in the soapbox came around, I might as well talk about it now since you brought it up. Networking to me has always been so incredibly important, and luckily my management has understood that. Like, I can't just talk to the teacher across the hall about what I'm doing. I need to talk to another planetarium, and even the other one in Buffalo at the college is doing very different stuff. So I was both excited but also sort of sad as I looked through this list of New York planetariums, that like there were a lot of names that I recognized, but a lot more that I didn't, and which includes everybody at this meeting today. To me, it's been an absolute lifeline. And the way I describe it to people is when I go to their conferences, I come back feeling like a lazy idiot. And, that's partly tongue in cheek, but, I work pretty hard, and I think we're doing some pretty cool stuff here. But then I go and get exposed to all these other ideas, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to do so much more with this place. And, even the newsletters, like if going to the conference isn't something that you can think about, just the quarterly newsletters, there's so many ideas. Like GLIPA's got the little planetarium update. Well, somebody was talking about meditation in their planetarium. Well, I had an artist locally ask about it, and like, hey, let's try it. And I knew who to go to discuss, how do you make this work? So I'd love to see more of you guys, whether it's through this network or through the planetarium associations.
I'll say,
no, go ahead, Valerie.
I was just going to say quick, the reason that like we aren't is during COVID, SUNY Oneonta wouldn't let us pay for any memberships. Like, we had very restricted funding, and that just has kind of carried through. So we just don't have the ability to pay for memberships to these organizations unless we have, special external funding or something that supports me and where I think the membership should be at the college. So you might be seeing a little bit of that leftover effect from especially the universities. And that's why they're not members, but that's just my specific case.
Interesting. And I also wanted to take this opportunity to note that we hope this is the first of many recurring planetarium forums. We would hope to make it, a regular part of our annual Space Week program. And we would also be interested in setting up, another virtual forum to follow up on some of these ideas in the future. So I just wanted to make sure to point that out.
Patrick, that might be like a micro scale funding idea too. I mean, honestly, the IPS membership is way more. MAPS is like 25. I think GLIPA, we're going to raise it to 30 annually. So on one hand, you've got planetariums that need multiple digits. But if you had somebody who was interested in participating and just needed help with a membership fee, that could be a powerful thing for somebody who's got a facility that's either new to it or, struggling to stay alive.
It's an interesting idea.
I know on my end, I don't belong to any of these. The positions that I have had at Roberson the last 2 years have had a high turnover. So it's a matter of, finding the time to realize I need to know more about this, which is what I've taken away from today from this meeting. I have an entire legal pad, pages of notes. I can't tell you how beneficial this was today. Thank you.
And then
thanks, Patrick.
No, go ahead. Yeah,
I was going to say, I've wanted to go to Space Week in New York City several times now. I've just always, something else has prevented me. But as far as the network.
And that was, I was hoping we could take just another couple of minutes. I'm willing to run about 5 minutes late. Just in terms of that kind of networking, what other community groups, institutions, particularly companies, do you guys do any work with space-related companies in your area? The academic connections, the school tours, every planetarium we've ever come across ever does some version of that. But in terms of interacting any kind of social functions or anything that engage the private sector in your area.
I want to. I know we have a few space companies in Brooklyn and so forth, and I'd love to have them up and do a thing. We just sort of in the middle of another construction project right above the dome, which is ruining everything. But as soon as that's done.
Yeah, my school district is kind of bizarre. I don't know why they haven't pursued more of that. So we've had a couple of big renovations that involved either state or private foundations, but not any sort of corporate funding. And, there may be a legal reason for that, but seems silly.
I don't even want their money at the moment. It would be fun if they wanted to like share their data visualizations and somehow present the science that's driving their companies to the students at City College. So, they.
Oh, you know who I did?
Yeah.
What the heck was their name? It's a low carbon footprint rocket company. Oh, I have to think of it. It's got blue something in their name. They're not based in New York, but they were a guest speaker at one of the conferences, and I did it like a virtual guest speaker for one of our public programs.
Blue Ship in Maine.
Yeah, it.
That's what I wanted to say. I was right.
I know for years, Roberson Planetarium had worked with Copernic, and several years ago there was a major fallout, and I can't get an answer as to what happened. And so I'd love to work together with partnerships too. So
I get a lot of requests from like weird wellness people who want to use the planetarium for some sort of like medicine activation thing. I don't know what's going, but somehow I don't know what they're doing, but I don't really do those.
I think the woman wanted to do a sound bath in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some interesting characters out there loosely attached to the space community. Well, and I asked that question because one of the things we found in other states that have, because our point is to kind of grow space economy and the space ecosystem here. And a lot of other states, Colorado and Virginia, they have these networking or kind of hub events. They'll have these gatherings where it brings together people from, government and academia and the private sector for some kind of semi-formal, informal gathering. And planetariums can serve, are one of the arenas that can serve that because everyone's willing to partner with a planetarium. You can do a cool show and then, a talk or something afterwards. So there's lots of programming flexibility. And one of the things that we would like to do for future Space Weeks is expand the amount of programming outside of New York City. Like we had a fantastic week this year, but a lot of the in-person events were located in Manhattan because that's where, a lot of people in the activity is. But we would like to see more, kind of dedicated broad spectrum kind of network programming, particularly upstate in some of these regions, because all these different communities, around Binghamton in the southern tier, Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, and central New York, there's all little hubs there, companies and colleges are all doing cool space related stuff. But because they're a little bit smaller and there's fewer individuals, they might not necessarily be as properly networked. And so that's where the thought of planetariums as being kind of like an open partner to all of these different members and finding ways to engage the community is something we thought of. So we are running towards the end of our time. This is a fantastic conversation. You never know when you budget how long. I'm pretty sure we probably could have doubled this, and we probably still could have filled it. So I'm glad that this filled a need for folks. We'll do like one round robin if people have final thoughts. I know Vargas has posted some stuff in the chat, final thoughts or notes for everyone else. And then we will likely consider having some other type of forum, maybe sometime this fall. Take this back, take the video, keep communicating with folks, send it out to the rest of the planetarium, see if we can engage more of that network and see what we can put on the books in the near future. So I don't know if we want to go in reverse, alphabetical order, but we'll give everyone a final word here.
Nice to meet you all. Come if you're in the city, come by and follow us on Instagram. Thanks, Vargas, for reminding me. That's the only reason the college is paying attention to me now is because we did pretty well on the internet over COVID.
Nice.
Good. Yeah, ditto. This was really great. It was nice to meet all of you, and especially those in the central New York area. We should really get together and chat sometime.
Yeah, I'd be available for that. But I can use all the help I can get over here. Just one quick question for all of you that has ever gone through a planetarium upgrade. About how much downtime have you had in those upgrades?
I think our last one was real quick.
Was it?
Yeah, mine was. Yeah, I interrupted someone else. I apologize.
Yeah, if they got everything in order, it could be a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that depends on your infrastructure, though, your electrical, and if none of that needs to be dealt with, it's, basically computers and projectors.
Yeah. The biggest thing is that we're leaning towards a new company, so it'd be new software. I'll have to make all new scripts and new shows again, so that's going to be a project. Who knows how long it's going to be.
So one couple of quick thoughts. I'm sorry, I feel like a sales speech, but a great thing about these organizations, they've got online discussion groups. You can find end users. I cannot tell you how important it is to talk to end users of shows, of systems, because the sales speech is a sales speech.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, good luck with everything. And it was really cool to meet all of you. If anybody's in the west end of the state, come check out our place.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for taking the time. It was great to meet all of you. We will keep in touch.